So thank you guys for coming. We're going to be here for just a little while listening to Verlisha Brandon. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and let her take it away because she is the expert on this stuff. So Verlisha Brandon has a BS and an MS in Health and Physical Education from Virginia State University. She served in, you might have to help me with this, Eswatini?
Yes.
Phonetic. Eswatini, Africa, as a youth development specialist from 2019 up until evacuation due to COVID-19 in 2020. Verlisha is very passionate about introducing to some and increasing in others the importance of cross-cultural learning opportunities. She looks forward to sharing her volunteer experiences and hopefully help others who want to volunteer with the Peace Corps as well.
Yes.
Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Again, my name is Verlisha Brandon. I am a regional recruiter with the Peace Corps, and of course, being here in Richmond, Virginia, I recruit out of Richmond, but I also travel back and forth to St. Louis, Missouri. So if you're ever on the Peace Corps website and looking up events and you see my name under Missouri, like, she was just in Richmond. I cover St. Louis right now as well. So before going into my presentation, I did want to mention the Peace Corps prep program that you do have here at VCU. Just in a nutshell, the Peace Corps prep program is just what it sounds like. It's a certificate program that can prep you before actually applying for the Peace Corps. So just scrolling down a little bit, if you want to take a look at the screen, I don't know if you're able to take a picture, but this is the information for the Peace Corps prep program. The coordinator here, her name is Sarah Carrier. I believe she's out right now on sabbatical leave, but I can provide her information for you after this session. So if anybody wants to get information on the Peace Corps prep program, I can give you that information. Or you can also visit your the website of VCU and just search Peace Corps prep, and this information will come up. Any questions on Peace Corps prep before I move it right along? Okay, so again, my name is Verlisha Brandon. Today's presentation is going to be on the who, what, when, and where on Peace Corps. Who can serve? What do you do as a Peace Corps volunteer? When is a good time to serve? And what countries do we currently have volunteers in? Okay, it's going on this page. So, like she said, introducing me my country of service, I served in Eswatini, Africa, which is a very, very small country right above South Africa. If you're not familiar with it, you can look on a map and it's okay, because I actually didn't know the country existed a year before I served. And if you ever hear somebody say Swaziland, that used to be the country's name, and they actually had a name change. So if you hear Swaziland, the natives there, they're actually called Swazis, and they actually still say Swaziland instead of Eswatini. So if you ever heard Swaziland, they're talking about Eswatini. I did serve as a youth in development volunteer, and while I was in service, while they did speak English as a secondary language, but as a youth development volunteer serving in that country, we had the opportunity to learn their native language, which was Swazi. And also, like she said, I'm a proud two-time graduate of the Virginia State University. I consider it the best university on earth, but here at VCU, you probably have a different perspective. But yes, I graduated from the Virginia State University, and that is actually, funny enough, another Peace Corps partner school. But while I was at Virginia State, I was a student athlete in undergrad, and in grad school, I served as a grad assistant for the softball team. So I didn't have really the exposure to Peace Corps, so I actually didn't know about Peace Corps until my first year of grad school, which was 2018. So the Peace Corps is a 27-month service opportunity where you'll have, where you'll be able to live, work, and serve in a community abroad. Again, it is a hard 27 months. I know I get the question all the time, can I start my Peace Corps service, come back home, and then go back? The answer is no. It is a commitment, but it's not an obligation. So say you apply and get accepted to Peace Corps, and then you get over into your country of service and you figure out Peace Corps is not for me, or it's just not what I thought it was, you are able to do something called early termination, or ET. So that's why I say it's not an obligation, but the full service is a 27 length. So you're not able to, start your service, come back home, unless you take a vacation, which I'll talk about later in the service. You do have vacation days, but it is a 27-month service. I'm gonna try to play this video. Let's see if it's going to play for us.
the willingness of all Americans, men and women, young and old, to serve the Peace Corps, to serve in all parts of the world, to serve with little pay, do jobs that most of them have never done before. It's one of the most encouraging manifestations of the American spirit this country has seen in many years. The Peace Corps gives us a chance to show a side of our country which is too often submerged. Our desire to live in peace, our desire to be of help.
Today, hope endures. In fact, it's as strong as it was when we started our journey in 1961, maybe even stronger. Every day, Peace Corps volunteers and all of us who support them wake up and spend the day working hard to make the world a better place. The larger causes we serve are the farmers in Panama, businesswomen in Albania, students in Rwanda, environmentalists in Jamaica, healthcare workers in South Africa. Our work is manifested in them and the thousands and thousands of others we'll never meet. It's a two-way street. Or, more accurately with Peace Corps, a two-way dirt road or footpath. And that volunteers venture to far-flung corners of the world and bring back to the United States after they serve more knowledge of, compassion for, and ability to ensure peace. They live it, promote it, and never stop sharing it. Peace is the first word of who we are. That our mission and goals haven't changed in nearly 60 years is rare, and so are we. The peace and freedom President Kennedy harnessed then continues now. And that spirit still sparks our service. Who are we? We're the Peace Corps.
I hope this spirit will grow, that hundreds of others of young Americans and older Americans go overseas to show our best side, show how much we desire to live in peace. There can be no greater service to our country, and no source of pride more real than to be a member of the Peace Corps of the United States. I hope that you will join.
Okay, so moving right along, the basic requirements to be eligible as a Peace Corps volunteer. You do have to be 18 years of age and you have to be a U.S. citizen. So with these requirements, say if you're 17 right now and you want to serve before your 18th, well, after your 18th birthday, you're able to apply before you actually turn 18, if that makes sense. So you have to meet these requirements before you fly into country. So if you're not a U.S. citizen right now, but you're working on it, and say in 6 months' time, you plan on becoming a U.S. citizen, you can apply before you actually have that documentation, and then express that on your resume. Same thing with your birthday. You have your birthday on your resume if you're 17, and then you can apply long as you turn 18 before you leave to go for service. Again, the length of service is 27 months, so to give you an idea of what the 27 months look like, the first 3 months once you fly into service, you have what is called pre-service training, or PST. So during those 3 months, you get trained on the language training, should you have to learn a different language in country. You also get safety and security training, and then you get more training on Peace Corps aspects. So after you have the basic information, you figured out what Peace Corps is, then you kind of question, what can I do in Peace Corps? So we have 6 different sectors or programs that you can volunteer under: agriculture, environment, community economic development, health, education, and the sector I served in, youth and development. So on our website, they have a general description of what you can expect to be doing under each program, but I can tell you as a returned Peace Corps volunteer, what you end up doing in your sector depends on what your community needs. So for an example, I served as a youth and development, but one of my close friends who I became friends with in Peace Corps, she was also in youth development. My community, the community that I served in, they didn't have as many teachers in the school, so they wanted me in the school Monday through Friday. Whereas in her community, they had a big teacher's presence, so she only had to be in the school Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So ultimately, what you'll end up doing in your community depends on what the community needs. Before I explain these photos, were there any one of the 6 sectors that anybody may be interested in? No? Yes?
Just education and youth and development.
Okay. So when you're choosing or thinking about a sector you want to serve in, you want to think about whatever you're majoring in, but not totally what you're base it on your major. You also want to base it on whatever you have passions on, whatever skills that you have from past jobs, because that's also something you want to list on your resume. And one of the requirements I didn't list up here, after going on the basic requirements, 18 years of age, and then you're a U.S. citizen, most of the openings on the website require that you have a bachelor's degree or 5 years of professional work experience. So if you look on the website, some applicants look up there and like, what is professional work experience? I've worked at McDonald's, I've worked at Wendy's, is that professional? Yes, any type of skills that you've learned at any past job for the past 5 years that you believe you can translate into your Peace Corps service counts as a professional work experience. So these photos are, of course, photos from my service up here in the top left corner. So after those first 3 months of training, PST, you swear in as an official Peace Corps volunteer. So this is actually a photo from swear-in day. If you can't tell, I'm in the middle, and these ladies are a part of an affinity group that we had in our country of service. It was called SPADE, and we named it SPADE because SPADE used to be used as a derogatory term for people of color, but we kind of twisted it around and made it into something positive. So going to the right-hand corner, this is actually a photo of me and my students in Form 4, which is like 12th grade here in the U.S. I am in the middle, if you can't tell, and this photo that you see up on the right side on the board, that's actually a picture of an ice cream cone. So this day we were doing a positive affirmation activity called I Am Sweet. And a lot of my students suffered from depression, not knowing, what they loved about themselves, not having nobody around them to uplift them. So with this activity, I had each student cut out a piece of color paper, and they used it as an ice cream scoop. And what they did was write something positive, at least one thing that they loved about themselves. And I actually have students to this day, every week on Facebook Messenger, they send me a picture like, hi, Ms. Mugelwe, my name in service is Mugelwe. Hi, Ms. Mugelwe, I still have my picture of my activity. So during my Peace Corps service, I kind of questioned, like, was I making a difference? Especially because I was there for such a short term after evacuation. But I can see just from them sending the photos, they still have that after 2 years that I made just a small difference. And then coming down to the left-hand corner, this is actually a photo of my students who volunteered for an after-school program that I started. So another issue that I ran into maybe the first couple of weeks being in the school that I served in, the students were more interested in why I was American, why I was there volunteering, why I had tattoos, and why I had locks. So they were more interested in that than the lesson, so it was a little bit of disruption in my classroom. So as a youth development volunteer, you may have to think outside the box, figure out, what your students are interested in, how can you incorporate that into the lesson. So I had students volunteer to come and do classroom cleanups. One, because the students did not properly use the desk during class time. They would be on top of the desk, destroying everything. But by the students volunteering their own time and cleaning up the classroom, this actually made them want to come to class on time, want to sit in the desk properly, and then they would have their peers like, don't mess up what we just cleaned up. So that was an activity that I created for after school program. And with that being said, you're able to do something in service called a secondary project. So along with going, say if you go as a youth development volunteer, but you really have a passion for doing hair, you can start an after-school program or secondary project teaching the youth in your community how to groom themselves, how to do their hair, how to cut hair, how to braid hair. So you are able to do something, outside of the sector that you go into Peace Corps for. Want to take a little break, ask us any questions or concerns? Am I speaking too fast? Because I know naturally I speak fast. I'm trying to slow down a little bit. It's cool? Okay. So going into the countries that we currently have volunteers in. So to this date, we have 48 posts or countries with volunteers in service. So every country that you see highlighted, we either have had, or currently have volunteers in service right now. So since evacuation due to COVID-19 in 2020, we had to shut every program down, and my service was actually interrupted by that. So I was at the 7-month mark and had to come back to the U.S. due to evacuation, but since then, we have sent out invitations and actually have volunteers back on the ground serving. So like I said, we have 48 posts open to today, and we have 64 posts who have issued invitations for volunteers to come serve. Any questions? Okay, so let's jump into the benefits. This was one of my, not favorite parts, but something that kind of caught my eye. So I did do Peace Corps after grad school, so I was kind of like, how is this going to benefit me? I'm going to be away for 2 years. I have student loans. How can this, how is this going to help me in the long run? So going into the benefits, there are opportunities for student loan benefits depending on, if you have loans, whoever your lender is. Peace Corps provides a informational sheet for you to provide to your lenders, and you may be eligible for deferment while you're in service. And then I believe it's 2 years after service as well. Going down to the relocation allowance, so after you complete the 27 months, you get what is called a relocation allowance, direct deposit, and it's $10,000 pre-tax, and it's about $8,500 after taxes. So with that money, you can do whatever you may need to do after being away for 2 years serving. I know for me, personally speaking, expecting to be away for 2 years, I ended my rental lease, I gave my car back to the dealership, so coming back, that relocation allowance really helped me get back into the swing of things. So with the travel benefits, looking on the website, it's going to state that you have 2 paid vacation days a month during your service. Now that does not mean Peace Corps pays for you to take vacation. That just means that you have 2 days of leave per month while you're in service. The only thing with the travel benefits, say if you go to a nearby country or you decide to fly back home or have family come to country, you are financially responsible for whatever you decide to do on your vacation days. Now going down to grad school benefits. I don't know if we have any grad students in the room. Okay, so if you're thinking about doing grad school, if you would like to put it on pause, so after Peace Corps, we have a fellowship program, and a part of that fellowship program, all of our partner schools offer at least 25% tuition, but we actually do have some schools that offer 100% tuition plus stipend. So you could potentially go to grad school for free and then get a little money on the side. And there's also, I just was made aware because I was looking myself, like I might go back to grad school. There's even some virtual, some online schools that offer 100% tuition plus stipends. So you could potentially go to grad school online for free and get a stipend with that fellowship. Any questions? Okay, so the application process, this is the process in 8 quick steps. The first step, of course, you're going to browse the website, get a little more information. Having some questions about that, you're going to contact your local recruiter, which is currently me. After chatting with me, you figure out hey, I'm ready to apply. The step 2 is to apply. Step 3, the health history form. So with this form, this is the form that you get to express your initial any health issues, questions or concerns you may have. But funny story about the health history form. My first time applying for the Peace Corps, my health history form went to my junk email, and it's time sensitive. I believe you have to get it back to us in 48 hours. So with mine, it went to my junk email, and I wasn't checking my junk email, and my first application was withdrawn. So that's something I always tell to potential applicants. Once you apply and we let you know that we received your application, make sure you're checking all of your inboxes. So after the health history form, everything goes smooth. A placement officer will reach out to you to schedule an interview time. Now the interview is typically over Skype, scheduled for 90 minutes long, which is an hour and 30 minutes. Personally, my interview only took about 30 minutes. And that is because before the interview, the placement officers send you any and every question that they may ask you during the interview. So you're able to prep yourself, and personally for me, for my preparation, I prepared all of my questions my answers to go into the next question, if that makes sense. So it will be scheduled for 90 minutes, but it doesn't have to be 90 minutes long. So after your interview, say everything goes smoothly, step 5 is the invitation. You'll get an invitation to serve in the Peace Corps saying, hey, we loved you, your interview went well, you've been invited to serve. Now with step 5, you still don't want to, pack everything up, quit your job, because with step 6, the medical and legal clearance, you can actually receive an invitation that says contingent upon your medical and legal clearance. So you don't really want to move forward with preparing to leave until after step 6, everything is free and clear. Now with the medical and legal clearance, you want to be 100% honest. Anything that you may have medically or legally, you want to express that to our pre-service unit when you go through that process on the application. Even if you have something as small as a peanut allergy, where if you look at a peanut 10 feet away, you'll break out. I know that's outrageous, but something as small as that, you want to express that, because you could be placed into a country where you eat peanut soup every morning for breakfast, and sometimes it can be culturally disrespectful for you to not eat the peanut soup. So if you have a peanut allergy or anything, you want to express that, just so you can be placed in a country where you can be properly cared for. And moving on to step 7, onboarding is just a process that's done maybe 2 or 3 weeks before you fly into your country of service. And with onboarding, you'll actually have an online portal where you set up your direct deposits. Any debts that you may have occurring while you're in service, you'll have that taken care of during the onboarding process. And with step 8 is departure. So for departure, and I've heard this question before, you don't get on the plane by yourself and go to country of service. You actually meet up at a central location. For me, it was New Jersey. I had a lot of people from New York, Virginia, North Carolina in my cohort. So for step 8, you're actually going to meet up with your cohorts, and you actually get to meet with them and do icebreakers for 2 or 3 days before you actually depart to your country of service. So that is step 1 through 8, the application process in a nutshell. The application, actually doing the application, it could take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how fast you type, how prepared you are with the questions. But I can say everything is in black and white. Once you log into the application, any questions they may ask, they break it down for you. You are able to go in, start your application process, save your process, and go back in, so you don't have to finish it in one setting. I think, is there any questions about the application process? Okay. So going back into the application timing, as far as the openings on our website, and when I say openings, that's just the current volunteer jobs that you can apply for. We do have application deadlines posted on a quarterly basis unless the current opening is extended. So for an example, January 1, April 1, July 1, and October 1. So every 3 months starting from January, we have new openings on the website. But I know currently for the April 1st deadline, we have some that has been extended to a month after April. But generally, we have them posted on a quarterly basis. So January 1 would be the apply by date, which is the application deadline. And then the know by date is just the date that you will know if you've been invited and accepted to serve. And then on the departure date, that of course self-explanatory, that is the date that you can expect to be departing to your country of service. And every opening on the website currently has the apply by date, know by date, and the departure date. I'm just going to pull that up for anybody that is a visual learner, like myself. So I can actually go from here. Because I know sometimes the Peace Corps website is not user-friendly for everybody. For me, who looks at it every day, I know exactly where to go. So from the homepage, from the peacecorps.gov homepage, you're going to hover over volunteer, and then you're going to go over to volunteer openings. And you're just going to use the first one for an example. In Madagascar, you're going to scroll down here on the right side. You'll see the application date or the apply by date, which is the deadline, the know by date, the date you'll know if you'll be serving or not, and then the departure date is when you can expect to be leaving to go out of country. And while we're on this page, I can also use this opening as an example. So for any opening, you can also filter by sectors. You can filter by, if you don't have any Spanish experience, or sometimes they'll have French up here as well, but if you don't have any second language skills, you want to click on none, and it'll filter all of the openings, so you don't have to filter those yourself. And then just clicking on this one. So the project description, This is what you can expect to be doing as a agriculture extension volunteer in Madagascar. But again, what you ultimately end up doing depends on what your community needs. But scrolling down, you can see the required and the desired skills. So under required skills, most of the time it's going to say bachelor's degree or 5 years of professional work experience. And with that, say if you apply today, you just have to show on your resume that you've been working for the past 5 years. And then with the bachelor's degree, of course, your graduation date will go on your resume. So for these desired skills, I always tell the potential applicants that I'm speaking with, as many of these as you can check off on your resume makes you more competitive when you apply. And I also tell potential applicants to not get so caught up on the wording on the website. So say for an example, this bullet here, it says school garden experience is highly desirable. So say if you've never worked in a school garden, but you did before and after school with the YMCA, and you had an agriculture program, that would be considered garden experience. And you're working with children in a school-like setting, so that can go on your resume, and that would check off that bullet, if that makes sense. A lot of people see on the website and get caught up in the wording, but most of the time you have the experience that you're looking for. And then also if the opening requires a certain language skill, that's going to be here. And then under the living condition is, again, what you can expect once you get into country, but the living condition really ultimately depends on where you're placed into country. Going down. And then also, if you're interested, and I highly recommend, if you have a particular country that you're interested in serving in, you can see this on the Peace Corps website, but I also recommend doing your own personal research. Just searching in Google living conditions or safety and security in whatever country you're interested in. Doing that personal research can take you a long way once you get into your country of service. So Peace Corps also offers an opportunity for couples to serve. The only thing with that, to prove that you're an actual couple, it can't be a best friend, it can't be someone you've been with for 2 weeks. I've had that happen before. But you have to prove that you actually a couple by having, there's a form that you have to get notarized. So you can either show a marriage certificate and that show that you're married, or you have to get a statement notarized. So they take it pretty serious. I guess just from past experiences where people go in with people just saying they're a couple just to serve together. But there is an opportunity, so if anybody is married or interested in serving as a couple, that is an opportunity with Peace Corps as well. So going into the quick tips, apply early. That is a great tip just because the entire process could take 6 to 12 months. And with that being said, the longest portion could be the medical and the legal clearance, just because if you have to get certain appointments or certain procedure done before you go to service, that may take time. Just get an appointment. I know for me, it took me 3 months to get my fingerprints done for my background check, just because back when I applied, there was a government shutdown. So yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But that's a great tip. Apply early. Also, tailoring your resume to specific positions. So as your local recruiter, I am able to look at your resume, provide some feedback and some tips. So if anybody is interested, you have my card. You can send me your resume via email, and I can look over and send you tips. So focusing on featured openings, these are the openings where it's like a high need for whatever sector those openings are, and I can pull that back up on the website too for visual learners. So going from the home page again, volunteer openings. You can filter to feature openings. So any ones that say featured, that means there's a high need either in that country or for that sector. And then I also want to mention you can only have one open application at a time. So there's 2 ways you can apply. You can apply to a specific opening on the website, and I would recommend that if you see one opening that you're interested in and you absolutely have all of the skills that we're looking for. But say you go on the website and you see 3 or 4 openings, you're like, dang, I wish I could go all these places. You can actually apply to serve where needed. And with that application process, the only difference is you have to be flexible on where you place. because the placement officer looks at your resume, your skill sets, and they place you where your skills are best matched. So going over to this statistic, I don't know how old this is, but it says 55% of applicants who connect with a recruiter are 55% more likely to become volunteers. And that is only, that's a statement because I have some potential applicants who say, like, I'm ready to go serve in another country, and I'm like, okay, well, tell me what drawn you to Peace Corps. And they don't know anything about Peace Corps, they just know they want to go serve somewhere. So chatting with the recruiter, you can get the basic information like you're getting here today, a better understanding of the timeline, because I also speak to people who are like, I'm ready to go today, I can apply today, and you can send me tomorrow, and I'm like, that's not how it works. So just chatting with the recruiter, and you can also, you're able to attend other recruiters' events on the website, because we do have virtual recruiters as well. So should you go on the website and see a virtual event that you're interested in, but it's not under me, feel free to go to another recruiter's events as well. And that concludes my presentation. For this QR code, you can actually take a picture of this on your camera phone, and it goes directly to my Connect with the Recruiter. And the Connect with the Recruiter is just going to ask me your first and last name, and then you put either the zip code or put BCU, and it'll send your information directly to me. More helpful links on the Peace Corps website. Say you're looking for any stories from previous volunteers, you can go to peacecorps.gov/stories, or in the search bar, you can just search stories of volunteers saving Ghana, and those stories will come up. Same things with the events and volunteers. And I actually have a video to play, 30 seconds to close it out. Are there any questions? No?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot that they should be asking you if they don't raise their hand after
Okay.
the video.
Maybe they don't know they have the question.
I know, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, you should ask.
Okay.
And then Randy, right?
Yeah.
Randy has a question too after the video.
If the video plays. So that was the 30-second post, sorry. This is my personal account. Okay, let me pull back up the presentation. Did anybody still need my QR code? Let's see. Questions?
Whatever.
Yes.
Say if I wanted a position that's not available yet for a specific country, say if I wanted to like be an English teacher in like Ecuador or something.
Yes.
How can I anticipate like a job opening for that, or is there any availability to like, or like, you know, any knowledge on that?
So yes, that is a great question, but there is not a way to like express like, hey, I don't see an opening right now on the website, but I am interested in say youth development in Ecuador. So the openings on the website become available as the countries ask us for volunteers. That's another point. So every country that we send volunteers over, that country has actually come to Peace Corps and asked for Peace Corps volunteers. Because I know some people wonder, is it just random? Do you send volunteers anywhere? That country does come and ask Peace Corps for volunteers. So the answer to your question is no, but I would recommend if you're absolutely positively want to go to Ecuador, I would just check the website quarterly, so every 3 months if you don't see an opening on there. Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions from you guys? All right, so my questions that I would have
Yes.
are as follows. There are going to be a few of them. So it's volunteer, so that implies there's no pay.
Yes.
Is housing and food covered, or do you need to, how much money do you need to bring with you to be able to live comfortably? I'm sure part of that depends on the country you're placed in, but is housing and food and other things covered?
Yes, so that's a great question. So you do get a monthly stipend while you're in service, and the stipend is actually paid in the currency of the country you're serving in. So if you're serving in Mexico, you'll be paid in pesos, if that makes sense. I was paid in rands. I think I had a picture of it on my presentation. Let me see. But yes, and housing is also, every host family is interviewed and vetted by Peace Corps. So it's not just random people volunteering to have volunteers stay on their homestead or in their homes. They're actually vetted by Peace Corps. But you do get a monthly stipend every month. It's not a whole lot. It's enough for you to live at the same level of the members in the community that you'll be living and working in. But from a personal standpoint, I was big on social media before and after service, so a lot of my stipend went to airtime, which is like putting minutes on your phone here in the US. So there were some days I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna eat, but I have airtime on my phone. So you can decide what you wanna do with your stipend. I've also gotten the question, can you save your stipend and convert it back to USD when you come back? The answer is yes, but if you have enough stipend left over to bring back to convert, kudos to you, because it's not a whole lot. But it is enough for you to live comfortably at the level of your community members, yes.
So that leads me to a question about just communicating with people back home. So you mentioned you put a lot of that money in ways to communicate. Are most of the places that you go going to be equipped with at least, like, I would imagine, like phones? Are most of them, do we now have internet in places, or is it possible that for 27 months you really need to like prepare yourself for the fact that you might only talk